They didn't rob you. They didn't need to. They programmed you. Not by your enemies, not by bad luck, by a set of invisible rules installed in your mind before you were old enough to refuse them. And the cruelest part? Right now, you call those rules your personality. There are 7 of them. They don't feel like traps, they feel like you. That's why they work. I'm going to name all 7, slowly, precisely. And by Rule 5, the one that disguises itself as love, something is going to crack open. Most people flinch at Rule 5 and close the tab. The ones who stay and sit with it, those are the ones who actually change. Stay with me. Rule number 1, manufactured doubt. Your self-doubt is not an honest assessment of your ability. It's the residue of other people's fear. Every person who ever said, "That won't work," or "Who do you think you are?" they weren't reading your future. They were protecting theirs. Doubt is contagious, and it was passed to you at the exact moment you were closest to believing in yourself. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. Animals given inescapable shocks eventually stop trying to escape even after the door is opened. They've learned that effort is futile. The lesson outlives the cage. Most people reading this are living in an open cage right now. Here's the line that changed my thinking on this. Seneca, a Roman philosopher writing 2,000 years ago, said it almost casually. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. He wasn't talking about courage. He was diagnosing the exact mechanism that keeps capable people frozen. The doubt in your head is not evidence, it's noise with a familiar voice. Your biggest enemy isn't the market, it's the voice you were handed at 12. Whose voice do you hear the second you're about to do something real? Just the first name, no explanation. Drop it below. Rule number 2, the identity cage. Before you knew what money was, you already knew who you were with it. We're not those kind of people. Don't act like you're better than us. Stay humble. Those weren't lessons. They were a mold, and your brain hardened around them. Psychologists call this identity-consistent behavior, the brain's compulsion to protect a chosen self-image above almost any other drive. You will unconsciously sabotage outcomes that contradict who you believe yourself to be. Here's the proof most people never hear. In 1974, researchers gave groups of students identical math problems. One group was told beforehand they were strong performers. The other was told nothing. The first group scored 30% higher on the same test. The only variable was the story they'd been handed about themselves. Your ceiling isn't your skill. It's the story you accepted before you had a choice. The identity you're protecting is the life you're repeating. Finish this sentence. The thing I heard most about money growing up was blank. One sentence, no context needed. You'll be shocked how many people inherited the same exact line. Rule number 3, the comfort tax. I want to try something different here. Instead of telling you about comfort, I want you to feel it. Think about the last time you had a real opportunity in front of you, a business, a conversation you needed to have, a risk that could have changed the trajectory. You knew what you needed to do, and you chose the version of yourself that waited. That feeling right there is not weakness, it's your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. Every time you avoided pain, your nervous system rewarded you with relief. Over years, it built an equation: discomfort equals threat, avoidance equals survival. The problem is that equation was built for a version of your life that no longer exists. You're not avoiding predators, you're avoiding phone calls. The people who build real wealth don't have higher pain tolerance than you. They've simply run the discomfort loop enough times that what feels dangerous to you feels normal to them. That's the entire gap. Not intelligence, not opportunity, repetition. Comfort isn't free. You pay for it in years. Every time you chose comfort, you paid with a piece of a future you never got to see. One word only. Right now, in this moment, are you choosing comfort or growth? Type it. Don't explain it. You've just named 3 cages you've been living in. That recognition, that specific sting you're feeling right now, most people get here and close the tab. They tell themselves they'll come back. They don't. The ones who actually change don't wait for permission. They subscribe. They come back. They go deeper. Hit subscribe, then keep going, because Rule 5 is where this gets personal and uncomfortable.
Rule number 4, the mirror prison. You do not think as independently as you believe. Right now, your brain is running a constant background process, scanning your environment and asking one question on loop: what is normal here? And then quietly nudging your behavior to match. This is social norming. It's why people rarely outgrow the room they grew up in, not because they lack ability, but because their nervous system flags deviation as danger. Here's the experiment that makes this undeniable. In the 1950s, Solomon Asch showed subjects a simple card with a line on it. Then he showed them 3 other lines of clearly different lengths and asked which matched. When the other people in the room, secretly actors, all chose the wrong answer, 75% of subjects went along with the obvious lie. Not once, repeatedly, even when they could see with their own eyes that it was wrong. You are not immune to this. None of us are. The only defense is to deliberately engineer the room you're standing in. Your environment isn't the backdrop to your decisions, it is your decisions. Show me who you spend Tuesday evenings with. I'll tell you your financial ceiling. If the 5 people closest to you average their annual income, what number would that produce? You don't have to share it, but sit with it for a second. Then tell me, does that number feel like a ceiling or a floor? Rule number 5, the most expensive rule, the sacrifice weapon. This one is the most dangerous trap on this list because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like your best quality. You were taught that giving is noble, that sacrifice is love, that putting others first is what good people do. And so you did. You gave. You stayed. You showed up for everyone. And while you were doing that, something quiet happened. Your brain fused self-sacrifice with self-worth. Helping others became the only way you knew how to feel valuable. So now, every time you choose yourself, to invest in your own future, to say no, to protect your time, it doesn't feel like ambition. It feels like betrayal. That guilt you feel when you prioritize yourself, that's not your conscience. That's the trap working exactly as designed. There is someone in your life right now who is not costing you money. They're costing you something worse. You're becoming. They cost you the version of yourself that might have existed if your energy hadn't been redistributed for years. You know exactly who I'm talking about. You've known for a long time. Loyalty to others at the cost of your future isn't love, it's self-erasure dressed in virtue. You don't have to name them here, but acknowledge it, just to yourself. Say it out loud alone if you have to. That acknowledgement is the first actual step toward freedom. Rule number 6, the performance loop. At some point, you stopped trying to build wealth and started trying to look like you had it. The upgrade nobody needed, the dinner on a card that shouldn't have been used, the watch that announced something your bank account was actively disputing. This isn't stupidity, it's hedonic adaptation plus social comparison theory running as a perfect loop. You buy to signal status, the signal fades, you feel worse than before, you buy again. Meanwhile, and this is the dark part, the people you're trying to impress aren't watching. They're running their own version of the same loop. Here's the line that nobody wants to say out loud. Appearing wealthy and building wealth require opposite behaviors. One is a performance, the other is a practice. Every dollar spent on appearance is a vote for staying where you are. Appearance is the tax the broke pay to feel rich, and the rich stopped paying long ago. The last thing you bought that you didn't truly need, was it for you or for the image? Type me or image. One word. Be honest with yourself, not with the comments.
Ruler number 7, the inherited script. This is the deepest layer, and it's the one most people never reach. You didn't just learn about money. You inherited a story about what money means, what it costs, who deserves it, and what happens to people who want too much of it. That story came from your parents, from their parents, from every generation that survived by wanting less. Psychologists call this intergenerational conditioning, but the financial term is simpler. You are running someone else's code written for a world that no longer exists, by people solving problems you no longer have. A family that survived scarcity passed you the lesson. Wanting more is dangerous. They weren't wrong for their world, but you're living in a different one, and the script didn't update. The difference between generational poverty and generational wealth is rarely intelligence or work ethic. It is almost always the inherited story about what's possible and who it's possible for. The people who break the pattern make one decision. This story ends with me. The editorial. Everything after me gets a different starting point. They don't wait for proof. They don't wait for permission. They decide and let the evidence catch up. Your ancestors survived everything so you could have the chance to do more than survive. The question is whether you'll take it. You've just seen all 7. The identity you inherited. The doubt that was handed to you. The comfort you kept choosing. The mirror you couldn't see. The sacrifice that felt like love. The performance that drained you. The script you were born into. And here's the thing I need you to sit with before you close this tab. None of these traps were built by your enemies. They were built by people who loved you, who were themselves trapped in past. You're the only map they had. This is not about blame. It never was. It's about the moment you decide that love and inheritance are two different things, that you can honor where you came from and still refuse to live there. Most people will watch this, feel it in their chest, and do nothing. Not because they don't want change, but because feeling like you understand something is comfortable enough to substitute for actually moving. Don't let this be there for you. Pick one, trap the one that landed hardest, and do one thing about it before midnight. One conversation, one decision, one thing you've been putting off for a year. Not because it will fix everything, because the person who acts today is different from the person who watched yesterday. And that difference, that single inch of movement, compounds into someone unrecognizable in 5 years. Which trap has held you the longest? Rule 1 through 7. Drop the number below. No explanation, just the number. And then go do the thing. Script. Stats, and remember this. The trap only works while you don't see it. You see it now. Your throne is waiting.